begin. The last guest had finally left, and a hush fell over the house. But the quiet didn't mean the party was truly over. Oh no. The living room looked like a battlefield of fun. Brightly colored balloons, once dancing in the air, now lay like tired puddles on the carpet, some completely flat, others just beginning to wrinkle. A few rogue streamers hung sadly from the ceiling fan, forgotten in the excitement. Everywhere he looked, there were signs of joy. A half-eaten slice of cake sat on a plate, its frosting smudged. Little trails of sprinkles led from the coffee table to the edge of the rug, like tiny breadcrumbs from a fairy tale. And the crumbs themselves. They sparkled on the floor, testament to many happy mouthfuls. A forgotten party hat, squashed just so, rested near a pile of opened presents. Empty gift bags, once crisp and new, were now crinkled and cast aside, their tissue paper spilling out like soft, colorful clouds. He chuckled softly to himself. It wasn't just a mess, it was a map of laughter and shouts, of games played and songs sung off-key. Each deflated balloon held a memory of a bounce or a toss. Every cake crumb whispered of sweet tastes and happy chatter. It was the beautiful aftermath of a day filled with pure, unadulterated delight. The room was a vibrant, messy canvas that told a story, not of chores to be done, but of a wonderful celebration that had just taken place. He took a deep breath, smelling the lingering sweetness of sugar and the faint scent of balloons. It was the smell of a perfect birthday. And begin. The lingering scent of sugar and balloons made him smile. He looked around the room one last time, taking in the happy chaos. Then, with a gentle sigh, he turned his attention to the task at hand. Even though the mess told a good story, it still needed to be tidied. He walked over to a deflated balloon near his foot and nudged it with his toe. It skittered across the polished wood floor. He imagined gathering all the crumpled paper, stacking the plates, and sweeping up the glittering crumbs. It would take a little while, but he didn't mind. He liked making things neat again, especially after such a fun day. He knew she must be tired after all the excitement of her birthday. She had spent the whole day laughing, opening presents, and making sure everyone else was having a good time. It was her special day, and she deserved to rest. He bent down to pick up a stray piece of ribbon, planning his attack on the mess. I should start by gathering all the big pieces, he thought, then tackle the smaller bits. He pictured the room clean and tidy once more, ready for a fresh start tomorrow. It was a small thing he could do for her, a way to show he cared without even saying a word. He stood up straight, ready to begin his cleanup mission. He looked across the room, where she was still standing, watching him with a soft look in her eyes. "Don't worry about this," he said, his voice kind and calm. "I'll clean everything up for you." He gestured around the room with a sweep of his hand, ready to dive into the task. And begin. He stood ready, his hands poised to begin the great cleanup, a silent promise to make her space tidy once more. But before he could even take the first step towards a crumpled napkin, she moved. She took a step towards him, her eyes soft and shining. A gentle smile, as sweet as the leftover cake, spread across her face. It was a smile that held a secret, a warmth that seemed to chase away any thought of chores. "No," she said, her voice a soft murmur that reached him easily across the quiet room. It wasn't a sharp no, but a kind, gentle one, like a lullaby. She held out a hand, not to stop him with force, but to simply suggest he pause. Her fingers were delicate, and she placed them lightly on his arm, a feather-light touch that still managed to stop him completely. He looked down at her hand, then back at her smiling face, confused. "But the mess," he started, gesturing vaguely around the room. He wanted to make things nice for her, to give her a clean start to her new year. He thought she would be happy to see the room sparkling again. She shook her head slowly, her smile growing wider. "Don't worry about it," she repeated, her voice full of a peaceful calm. "Truly. You don't need to clean." Her eyes twinkled, full of a quiet joy that didn't seem to care about deflated balloons or scattered crumbs. It was as if the mess simply didn't matter to her, not right now, not with him standing there. Her touch was warm on his arm, a gentle anchor that held him in place, making him forget about the cleanup he was so ready to start. And begin. His hand, which had been reaching for a discarded party favor, paused in midair. Her gentle touch and soft words had already stopped him from cleaning. Now, her next words made him even more still. She kept her sweet smile, her eyes sparkling like little stars. Actually, she began, her voice a little brighter now, I already got my present. His brow furrowed slightly. He looked around the room again, taking in the empty gift bags and the ribbons strewn about. He remembered all the bright boxes and colorful wrapping paper from earlier. Had he missed something? He had been so careful to make sure she opened every gift. He thought of the necklace his mom had given her, the new book from her best friend, the cozy blanket from her sister. All wonderful gifts, he knew. But she said my present, singular, as if there was one special thing he hadn't noticed. He blinked, a question in his eyes. Your present? He asked, his voice puzzled. He hadn't given her anything yet, not really. He had helped plan the party, bought the cake, and made sure all her friends were there. But a physical gift, wrapped in paper and tied with a bow? That was still waiting, tucked away for a private moment. He was going to give it to her later, when the house was quiet and they were alone. He tried to recall if anyone else had given her something extraordinary, something that would make her say she already got her present. But nothing came to mind. The mystery hung in the air between them, thick as the sweet scent of old cake. He looked at her, waiting for her to explain, a slight frown of confusion on his face. And begin. His gaze swept around the room, trying to make sense of her words. His eyes darted from the stack of brightly colored gift boxes on the table, now empty and open, to the little piles of wrapping paper scattered like fallen leaves. He saw the new teddy bear peeking out from under a chair and the shiny new toy car half hidden by a deflated balloon. She had seemed so happy with each gift, hugging them close and thanking everyone. Could it be one of those? He mentally ticked through them, the art set, the fancy new pen, the book about dragons. All wonderful, thoughtful gifts, but none felt like the present, the one she spoke of as if it were the only one that mattered. No one had given her a giant pony, or a secret treasure map. No grand, surprising gesture that he had somehow missed. He looked back at her, his brow still furrowed in a gentle frown. He himself had a special gift for her, hidden away, waiting for the right moment. It was a small, shiny music box that played her favorite song. He had imagined her delight when she opened it later, when the house was calm and quiet. So, if his gift wasn't it, and all the others had been opened, what could she mean? The confusion deepened in his eyes. He hadn't given her anything yet that would count as her ultimate birthday present. He had helped her family prepare the party, and he'd been there for her all day, making sure she had fun. But that wasn't a present, was it? Not in the way she said it, with that special sparkle in her eye. He was truly at a loss, his mind racing through possibilities, none of which seemed to fit her puzzling statement. And begin. His puzzled expression must have been clear, for a soft giggle escaped her lips. It was a happy sound, like tiny bells chiming. She let go of his arm, but instead of turning away or explaining from where she stood, she moved. Slowly, gently, she took a step closer to him. Then another. And another. Each step brought her nearer, closing the small distance between them. As she moved, her eyes, already bright, seemed to gather more light. They sparkled now, not just with happiness, but with a playful glint, like she knew something wonderful that he didn't. It was the look of someone holding a delightful secret, one that was just about to spill. Her smile softened, losing its initial sweetness and gaining a touch of warmth that made his own heart feel a little lighter, despite his confusion. He watched her approach, still wondering about the present. He didn't move, captivated by the quiet intensity in her gaze. The messy room, the cake crumbs, the deflated balloons, all faded into the background. All that mattered was her, stepping closer, her eyes full of that unspoken mystery. Her presence filled his senses, pushing away all other thoughts. When she was very close, close enough that he could see the tiny flecks of gold in her eyes, she stopped. She was so near that he could feel the warmth radiating from her, a comforting heat that made the hair on his arms tingle just a little. Her sparkling eyes, so full of her happy secret, looked up at his, waiting. He held his breath, wondering what amazing thing she was about to say. The air between them felt thick with unspoken words and a gentle, growing excitement. And begin. The air thickened with unspoken feelings as she stood so close. He could feel her soft breath, warm against his cheek. Her eyes, still sparkling with that secret joy, locked onto his, holding him in place. Then, very slowly, she leaned in, her head tilting just so. Her lips brushed his ear, light as a butterfly's wing, sending a little shiver down his spine. He held his breath, waiting for the whispered words. The world outside them, with its scattered crumbs and tired balloons, seemed to fade away completely. All he could hear was the gentle beat of his own heart, echoing in his ears. Her hair, soft and fragrant, tickled his ear as she moved even closer. It was a moment just for them, a quiet bubble of expectation in the aftermath of a noisy party. Then, a soft sound, almost too faint to hear, drifted into his ear. It was her voice, a gentle murmur, like a secret meant only for him. It wasn't loud enough for anyone else to catch, if anyone else had even been there. It was a private message, whispered with all the tenderness in her heart. He felt the warmth of her breath, and then the words, soft as a sigh, formed themselves in his mind. She didn't shout it, or even say it in a normal voice. It was a secret, spoken with care and love, meant to sink deep into his heart. And begin. The softest whisper, barely there, brushed against his ear. It was only 2 words, so simple, yet they hit him with the force of a sudden wave. It's you. The sound was so gentle, so unexpected, that for a split second, he wasn't sure he had heard it correctly. He felt his breath catch in his throat. His eyes, which had been narrowed slightly in confusion, suddenly sprang wide open. They grew big, like saucers, reflecting the faint lights from the street outside. A rush of feelings, warm and bright, washed over him. Surprise was the first, a jolt that went right through him. He hadn't expected those words, not in a million years. He had thought of many things she might say, many kinds of presents she might hint at, but never this. And then, just as quickly, the surprise melted into pure, shining happiness. A wide, real smile, one that reached his eyes, spread across his face. His cheeks flushed a little, a rosy color spreading from his neck. He felt a joyful leap in his chest, like a tiny bird taking flight. His heart beat a little faster, a happy drum inside him. He looked down at her, her face so close, her eyes still holding that beautiful, knowing sparkle. The meaning of her words settled in him, warm and comforting. He was her present. Not a toy, not a book, not even the music box he had hidden away. He, just him, was the best gift she could ask for. It was a feeling better than any present he had ever received. He felt a glow spread through him, a warmth that chased away any lingering thought of crumbs or balloons. He was her present, and that made him feel truly special. And begin. The simple words, "It's you," began to echo in his mind, not just as a sound, but as a deep, wonderful truth. At first, it was a sudden spark of joy, but then the full meaning started to unfurl, like a beautiful flower opening its petals. He had been so focused on what he could do for her, how he could help, or what gift he could give. He hadn't stopped to think that maybe, just maybe, his presence was enough. He saw her face, her eyes still holding that deep, happy sparkle, and it clicked. It wasn't about a toy or a new gadget. It was about him, being there, with her. It was about the way they laughed together, the quiet talks they shared, the comfort they found in each other's company. Her words weren't just a sweet compliment, they were a declaration of how much he meant to her. A wave of understanding washed over him, warm and peaceful. He understood that she valued him, not for what he could give her, but for who he was. His presence, his kindness, his friendship, these were the things that truly mattered to her. He remembered all the little moments throughout the day, how she had smiled when he helped her light the candles, how she had leaned on his arm when she opened a tricky present, how she had looked at him across the room during a game. All these small signs, which he had seen but not fully understood, now made perfect sense. Her true feelings, as clear as a sunny day, filled his mind. She loved having him by her side. He was her comfort, her fun, her peace. And in that moment, standing in the quiet, messy room, he felt truly seen and deeply loved. The puzzle of her words had been solved, and the answer was more beautiful than any gift he could have imagined. And begin. The realization settled upon him like a warm, comforting blanket. He wasn't just a helper, or a friend, or someone who brought a present. He was the present itself. More valuable than any shiny new toy, more delightful than the sweetest piece of cake, more fun than a room full of balloons. He was her special gift. He thought of all the things he usually associated with presents: bright wrapping paper, the surprise of what's inside, the thrill of something new. But this was different. This gift was him, and it wasn't new at all. It was something that had grown over time, something deeply cherished and known. It was a gift that couldn't be bought in a store or tied with a bow. His mind replayed her words, "It's you," and he understood the depth of her feeling. It wasn't just a nice thing to say, it was her honest truth. She wasn't looking for more things, she already had what truly mattered to her. He was her comfort, her confidant, her partner in laughter and quiet moments. That was a gift far greater than any object. He looked around the messy room again, but this time, the objects seemed small and unimportant. The deflated balloons were just rubber, the cake crumbs just sugar. They were symbols of a party, but he was a symbol of something much deeper, something lasting. He was her chosen joy, her most valued treasure. The weight of this understanding was not heavy, but light and freeing. It filled him with a quiet pride and a profound sense of belonging. He was her best present, and that knowledge shone brighter than any birthday candle. And begin. As the truth settled in his heart, a wonderful feeling began to spread through him. It started as a tiny spark right in his chest, then quickly grew, warming him from the inside out. It was a soft, gentle warmth, like sunshine on a cool day, or snuggling under a favorite blanket. This wasn't just happiness, it was a deep, peaceful joy. He understood, truly understood, how much she cared. It wasn't just a surface-level liking, but a deep, true affection that went beyond words. Her choosing him as her present showed a love that was pure and strong. He felt cherished, valued, and completely understood. All the little worries and confusions of the day, even the messy room, seemed to melt away in the face of this powerful feeling. A quiet smile touched his lips, one that mirrored her own. It was a smile of contentment, of feeling truly loved. His eyes, still wide with the wonder of her words, now held a soft glow. He felt a sense of peace he hadn't known before. It was as if all the pieces of a puzzle had suddenly fit together, creating a beautiful picture. This warm feeling wasn't just for a moment, it promised to stay. It was the kind of feeling that made him want to stand a little taller, to smile a little brighter. It was the feeling of being someone's everything, someone's most important thing. He looked at her, his gaze full of the same deep care she had shown him. Her words had not only told him how she felt but had also made him feel it, truly and completely. It was a beautiful, happy feeling that made the whole world seem right. And begin. The messy room, once a symbol of joyful chaos, now became the quiet stage for a very special moment. In the soft glow of the remaining party lights, with deflated balloons scattered around their feet and cake crumbs glinting on the floor, they stood close, lost in their own little world. It was as if the bustling party, with all its noise and laughter, had been merely a prelude to this sweet, private calm. No words were needed now. His eyes, still wide with happy surprise, met hers, and in that gaze, everything was said. Her smile was soft and knowing, full of a quiet triumph. His was one of wonder and deep affection. The air around them felt thick with unspoken feelings, a gentle hum of understanding. He reached out, his hand gently finding hers. Their fingers linked, a simple, comforting touch that spoke volumes. The warmth of her hand in his was real, grounding him in the moment. They stood there, side by side, amidst the cheerful debris of the party, but they saw none of it. They saw only each other, reflected in their eyes. It was a perfect moment, unplanned and pure. The kind of moment that people remember, tucked away safely in their hearts. The crumbs and balloons, once a potential chore, now served as a charming backdrop, a reminder of the fun that had led them to this quiet, sweet understanding. For a while, the world outside their shared bubble ceased to exist. There was just them, two hearts beating gently in sync, sharing a tender secret in the aftermath of a birthday celebration. And begin. The deflated balloons lay harmlessly on the floor, some even tickling their ankles as they stood. The cake crumbs, once a focus of his cleaning intentions, now seemed like charming little specks of stardust, reminders of a happy day. The party hats and crumpled gift wrap were no longer a chore waiting to happen, but silent witnesses to a beautiful moment. The messy room simply did not matter anymore. His earlier urge to tidy had completely vanished, replaced by a much deeper sense of peace and contentment. The thought of sweeping and gathering seemed far away, a task for another time, when this precious feeling had settled fully. What truly mattered, what truly filled the room with a different kind of light, was the happiness shining in her eyes, and the warmth that now glowed within his own heart. Their shared joy was the only thing that held any weight, any importance. It was bigger and brighter than any mess. It was more valuable than a perfectly clean floor or a neatly stacked pile of presents. The air around them wasn't filled with the lingering scent of cake, but with the sweet perfume of affection and understanding. He glanced down at his hand, still gently holding hers. This connection, this feeling of being her present, was the real treasure. The room could stay as it was for a while longer. The balloons could rest. The crumbs could glitter. None of it could take away from the wonderful, happy feeling that now enveloped them both. Their happiness, their quiet, shared happiness, was the most important thing in the world right then, shining brighter than any birthday candle. And begin. His hand tightened gently around hers, a silent answer to her unspoken feelings. He looked at her, his eyes still shining with the surprise and joy her words had brought. A wide, genuine smile spread across his face, one that reached his eyes and made them crinkle at the corners. It was a smile full of warmth, of gratitude, and of a deep, quiet happiness. He felt truly special. Not just special like a birthday boy, but special in a way that went much deeper. Her words, "It's you," had wrapped around his heart like a comforting hug, telling him he was important, cherished, and loved. He had never felt quite this loved before, not in this particular way. It wasn't about grand gestures or big promises, it was about being truly seen and valued for simply being himself. The feeling was light and airy, like the last few balloons floating near the ceiling. He felt as if he could float too, carried by the pure happiness of the moment. Her belief in him, her choosing him as her most precious gift, made him feel strong and good. He wanted to return that feeling, to show her just how much her words meant to him. His smile grew, reflecting the joy in her eyes. It was a silent promise, a happy acknowledgement. He didn't need to say anything, his face said it all. He was deeply touched, completely content, and filled with a quiet pride. Her words were the best present he could ever receive, making him feel like the luckiest person in the world. He was her gift, and that was a role he would cherish forever. And begin. With his heart full and a happy smile on his face, he looked at her. There was no need for words, no need to explain anything more. The understanding passed between them, clear as a bell. The party mess could wait. The deflated balloons and scattered crumbs were not going anywhere. There was something much more important to do right now, simply be together. He gently squeezed her hand, a silent agreement. She returned the squeeze, her own smile soft and bright. The thought of getting out the broom or gathering the plates seemed silly, almost rude, after what had just happened. This moment, this feeling, was too precious to interrupt with chores. They found a comfy spot on the couch, nestled among a few stray streamers that had fallen from above. The faint glow of a faraway street lamp cast long, soft shadows across the room. He leaned back, pulling her gently closer. She rested her head on his shoulder, a soft sigh escaping her lips. The quiet was a welcome change after the day's excitement, filled only with the soft sounds of their breathing and the gentle thumping of their happy hearts. They didn't talk much, just enjoyed the peaceful quiet. The room was still a cheerful mess, a memory of fun, but it was also a cozy nest for their shared happiness. The cleaning could absolutely wait until tomorrow. For now, they had each other, and that was the best present of all. They closed their eyes, feeling the warmth of their connection, ready to simply enjoy this sweet, quiet ending to a perfect birthday. End.